Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the West Ham United Transfer Rumour Show, where things are heating up. Not West Ham transfers, the weather outside. I've got my window open because, for obvious reasons, it's too hot. So there's a lot of traffic going past. Tough. You're going to have to put up with it. Anyway, the pink book is back. And in here, I've written down some big rumours, some silly rumours, mainly made up rumours. No, I've actually written it down. However, on the other page, it contains a list of players who've been linked with in the last week or so. I don't have time to get through all the rumours. There is that many, so I've handpicked some that I wish to discuss. There's also a few players linked away from West Ham, one of which I think will be happening very soon. But let's kick off with the one that's here to stay for a little while longer, and that's Areola. Last week it sort of broke that he was on the verge of joining West Ham United, and now I have to admit, hands up, just like a goalkeeper, I expected him to be at West Ham by now, but it seems that both clubs are in a bit of a standoff, West Ham and PSG. The French giants want to sell him for around €15 million. West Ham want to loan him with an option to buy, so at the end of the season they can decide whether to pick him up or not for a fee they agree today. It seems to be like an obvious compromise here, which is a loan with an obligation, which is we do sign him at the end of the season for a fee agreed today. But it seems that West Ham don't really want to commit to that. We aren't really ready to agree to the permanent transfer of Areola, whether it's today or next summer, which seems a bit strange. I guess it's probably due to the financial package because he's on a hefty bit of money over at PSG. But currently, as it stands, West Ham are negotiating with PSG, who have 9 goalkeepers, 9 keepers on their books that can play for their first team. We're struggling to take one of them off their hands. I still think he'll be a hammer before the end of the window, just not yet. And then we've been linked to Embolo. I'm not going to go into too much to it because I don't really believe it. On loan. The rumour was a loan deal. Plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach over in the Bundesliga. He had a really good tournament. He played really well for Switzerland at the Euros. Got injured towards the end of it. He's a player that I would say is decent, but I'm almost disappointed by him. He's a bit like Issa Diop for West Ham, perhaps. That a couple of years ago, when you clearly had the ability and you had the age on his side, and you thought he would go on to become one of the leading strikers in European football, actually, and he hasn't done that, has he? He's still a very good quality striker. He's a really good player, just not as good as I thought he might be today. However, would I love him at West Ham? I would. Can I see it happening? No. File under stupid rumour. Anyway, a few clubs were linked to Issa Diop last week. Crystal Palace apparently had a bid rejected. Can't see us selling him. I would have thought that when you look at the players, the squad, with their worth to West Ham, their importance to West Ham, and their value, I would suggest that Issa Diop is probably one of the better players to sell. He has a decent bit of value attached to him, and he's not first choice 11. Given we've only got 3 first team senior players that played last season for West Ham that can play centre back, and Moyes is clearly on outlook for another one, I just don't see him departing West Ham anytime soon. Anyway, moving on, but before we do, just want to point you in the direction of our sponsors, OneFootball. It's the best football app for the football fan, and it's completely free. Pretty much what we're trying to do in the summer transfer window is save a little bit of money, get this app downloaded. Once you've downloaded it, you can favourite what you want, whether it's competitions like the Premier League, or your country, well, like Scotland for oneself, or of course your football club. And then once you've done that, you can go into your favourites, pick what you want to look at. So if you click on West Ham's badge, you can scroll down the news feed and get all the latest Hammers news, including the ongoing Jesse Lingard saga. It's not going away soon. I'm not going to speak about Jesse Lingard in this video. I'll do that later on in the week. But you can keep up to date with the latest, including the Declan Rice stuff, which I touched upon earlier as well. All the transfer rumours is there. So get it downloaded. Links in the description and pinned comments. Completely free. Have a try. If you don't like it, you've nothing ventured, nothing gained and all that. Right, moving on to the next player. Origi. Liverpool's Origi is supposedly the backup option if we can't sign Tammy Abraham. So Tammy Abraham was identified quite a while ago as our number 1 striker target. But the rumours are, I say rumours, it's pretty concrete that Chelsea will not sell him until they have got their own striker. Reportedly, they put in a bid for Haaland last week, got rejected, being linked to some other strikers, like Danny Ings even today, and they will not allow Tammy to leave before they get their striker. Makes sense. When you're in a position like Chelsea, you're under no pressure. Olivier Giroud is on his way, or has joined AC Milan for just under 2 million. So they're already 1 striker down compared to last season's squad. Makes sense. What does this mean for West Ham? Well, it's bad news, isn't it? It means we can't sign our number 1 target, or we won't sign a number one target. Depends how you want to look at it. Because while Chelsea say they won't sell Tammy Abraham until they've got their own target, I'm pretty sure if a £50 million bid arrived for Tammy Abraham, there'd suddenly be, the arm would be twisted a little bit. Now that's not going to happen with West Ham, but it just puts us between a rock and a hard place. We're now playing the waiting game. We're now watching Stamford Bridge saying, well, go on then, can you do something so we can try and get Tammy? But even if they do sign a striker, there's so much risks attached to this, which is A, can we even meet Chelsea's valuation Tammy Abraham? But don't think so. I'm not even convinced we could. B, are we the number one club that can get him? Villa apparently really want him as well. There'll be other Premier League clubs as well. If Tammy Abraham became available, might think, hello, we fancy a little bit of that. Does Tammy want to come in? There's too much issues surrounding the Tammy Abraham thing, and it worries me. So Origi's apparently the backup, and I do think he's a good striker, but that's it. That's not to say that's a bad thing. I don't think he's good enough for Liverpool. Don't think he's good enough for Champions League club. But I do think he is good enough for clubs like West Ham, like Everton, like Wolves, Leeds United, those that have ambitions of qualifying for European football, for those finishing in the top 8 next season, challenging for a domestic cup maybe. I think he's good enough for those clubs. And we are obviously one of those clubs. It's a bit like the Areola situation last week when I spoke about it, which is I think West Ham are in a unique situation this summer compared to all the other summers I've been alive, which is we've got a guaranteed minimum 6 games of European football next season, which means 6 games additional to offer players. Previously, last season, we would have struggled to some extent convincing a striker to come in January and compete with Mikel Antonio for the front man role. I think it's a bit easier this summer because yes, someone like Origi might look at Antonio and think, well, I'll get in ahead of him. You don't have to get in ahead of him. There's enough games to give Antonio first team football and a other striker first team football. They can almost both be first choice without playing together, if that makes sense. There's enough minutes to go round. That's what I'm trying to say. Origi, good signing. I wouldn't be doing cartwheels. I wouldn't be tipping him to be top goal scorer in the Premier League. Good, solid signing. Is it enough to dislodge Antonio though? We had the cup final next week. Would he? I'm not so sure. I'm not sure he's better than a fully fit Mikel Antonio. The problem is, you don't often see a fully fit Mikel Antonio, do you? Anyway, moving on, there's a few players in Scotland that West Ham are being linked to. Starting off with Glenn Kamara of Rangers, centre midfielder. He also had a really good Euro 20, playing for Finland. I think I watched all Finland's games actually. He was always looking like their best player. Gets about the middle of the park really well, centre midfield. Good engine on him, and he's decent at sort of everything. He's decent at tackling, decent at passing, getting forward. Like I said, really good engine. I think this would be a signing that would make sense. Is he good enough to start ahead of Declan Rice or Thomas Souček? No, he won't. But is he good enough to be ahead of Martin Noble in the pecking order? Yes, he is. Is he good enough? Should we play in the Europa League? We want to rest Souček or Rice. Is he good enough to go in there and play? Yes, he is. Value-wise, I don't think it would be too much either. Around about the £10 million mark at the most. I think that would be a clever sign. Do I believe it? No, not really. I'm dismissing this one. We've also been linked with Josh Doig of Hibs, the left back. Now, this is a signing I'd like to see. The guy's got loads of talent. A young kid. Is he good enough for the Premier League tomorrow? I don't think he is. I don't think he's good enough to start for West Ham on the 14th of August against Newcastle. Wouldn't want to see it. But would I like to see him on the bench? Yeah. Would I like to see him start the League Cup game away to Rotherham? Yeah. I think in 2 seasons' time, could I see him being good enough to start against Newcastle? Yes, I could. And I think that's what you're doing here. You're buying someone to almost be Creswell's understudy for a year or so, and then eventually overtake Aaron Creswell and put Creswell on the bench. I think he ticks all the boxes, actually. He also ticks all the corners and free kicks for Hibs as well. One young player of the year in Scotland. This would be a fantastic signing if we can get this one over the line. Do I believe it? I'm 50-50 on this one. There's a lot of links between West Ham and players based in Scotland over the last month. Just before we record this, I've seen another Rangers player, but I'm not going to go and touch on that one. There's been links to Lewis Ferguson again of Aberdeen. But we'll wait and see. Although I'd be more excited about him than Origi, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on. Nathan Trott could be departing, but don't worry. Only on loan. He could be off to Nancy. I don't know how you say it. Nancy sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? Nancy. Spelt Nancy, but I think it's pronounced Nancy. Anyway, it could be off to Nancy on loan. Second division in France. would be a really good move for him, actually. A decent, a club of substantial holding in France, if you like, particularly in the second division. If he can become the number one, I guess this is the key question. I'll say it's a good move for him. It's a decent club, is what I'm trying to say. Is it a good move? I don't know. This is where the club need to do their homework. And would he start? Would he be the number one goalkeeper over there? If he wouldn't, don't send him. Send him to another club. Send him to a club lower down in England if you have to. That will make him that he's good enough to go in there, grab the gloves and be number one for the season, form permitting. That's what we have to do. We messed up the Felipe Anderson loan deal. Tony Martinez is spoken out. I'll get into that in another video. Not for this one. It's not really a transfer rumour, so I'll dismiss it. Right, I'm going to fly through a couple. I've just seen it's 10 minutes already, so I'm going to fly through a couple more to get this wrapped up. Fenerbahce and Burnley have been linked with Yarmolenko, although no bids have been moved. It couldn't be further from a Burnley player, I don't think, so I'm dismissing that one. Although the price tag was interesting, 2 million. It's what you expect, I suppose. It's what money you would save on his contract rather than what money you're going to get from the club. But there's that. Lewis Bate, we're being linked to him, 18-year-old Chelsea centre midfielder, always sort of shone for them in the youth teams. He's been linked to move away. He's also got a few other clubs looking at him as well, like Leeds United and Southampton. So more to come on that one, perhaps. Been linked to a couple of backup players at Barcelona, Lenglet and Braithwaite. We all know who these players are. Lenglet, not very good. He's sort of one of these that, again, people had high expectations of, and he's not particularly been great at Barcelona. And Braithwaite, he wasn't great for Denmark, despite that doing quite well. He was one of their lesser performers, if you like, of the tournament. Neither set the world alight. And then we've got Herrera at Man City. Now this one's interesting. He's been at Man City for a while now, but he's never played for Man City. He's always been out on loan. Spent the last 2 seasons on loan over in La Liga. By all means done really well. I think he's 23 years of age, so a really good age as well. I don't know enough about him, but if you do, if you're watching, first of all, you made it this far, congratulations, well done. It takes a special kind of person to do that. And second of all, if you watch La Liga and you know about him, put in the comments if you wouldn't mind, because I wouldn't mind knowing a little bit more about him. But I still refuse to YouTube, Google someone. I'm not looking at any highlights, so I want to know people's observations on him. Then Sam Johnson thing is still ongoing. Apparently we had a £6 million bid rejected. Apparently we were trying to use the money that they owe us for Grady Dean Ghana involved in the deal as well. I think there's a little bit of bluff going on here by West Ham, if I'm honest. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really want Sam Johnson. I've always had a theory that when it comes to, in my previous work, I used to have to sometimes get contractors in, and you might receive 10 quotes for the same job, and one of them would be exceedingly high, double the average price. And my theory was they don't want the jobs. They're pricing themselves out of it on purpose, because they don't want to say we don't want the work. They'd rather just put in a price that either A, they're quids in, and they do the job they don't want to do, but they make a load of money, or they don't get it, but you might ring them up in future. Happy days. I think we're almost doing that with Sam Johnson. 6 million for, it's way too low. It's almost like we're saying to West Brom, here's an offer we know you're going to reject, but what we're doing is we're saying to PSG, there's another keeper we like as well. I think that we're almost using Sam Johnson to try and get PSG to give us Areola on loan. Makes sense to some extent. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. That's a transfer rumours. There's plenty other ones, but if I kept talking all night, you would have watched the video, would you? If you've enjoyed this one, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're around here. Make sure you download the OneFootball app as well. Massive thank you to everybody that has so far. It helps the channel out as well. And I shall catch you tomorrow. Catch you in a bit. Goodbye.